Sovereign Bank Arena in Trenton, New Jersey. It's the nightcap of our opening day television action for the 2003 EUS Communications MAAC basketball tournament. The nightcap has the Canisius Golden Griffins against the Marist Red Foxes. And so far, you see two teams have survived opening round games today. Iona won the early game, and then an overtime thriller. St. Peter's moves on, beating Ryder. That brought to you by GHI. And welcome back, everybody. Doug Sherman along with Rob Kennedy. Now, in this game, we've got two teams that we expect to play right down to the wire again in Canisius and Marist. And for the Red Foxes, if they're going to pull this out, they need David Bennett to play a good game.
And they need a healthy David Bennett, who missed their last game with an ankle injury. Sounds like the last game, huh? When you take a look at his numbers, don't put him to the line. One of the best in the country, 91% from the foul line, playing very good basketball coming down the stretch.
Now, Bennett is a very good pure shooter, but Canisius has a couple of pretty good perimeter shooters as well. And we're going to highlight Hodari Mallory, who began the season on fire and has continued it here late.
Especially coming off his last game, a 22-point performance in their last outing. You take a look at his numbers. He's a guy who can score at part of that very experienced backcourt for the Griffs.
Rob, let's take a look at today's keys to the game, brought to you by HSBC.
Well, first of all, talking about that experience, also in postseason play, 5 wins over the last 2 years with Dukes and Mallory, and then you've got to rebound as a team. Marist takes a lot of long threes, so your guards have to rebound it as well. On the other side for Marist, their first key, they've got to find shots for Eppenheimer. He's been on a roll as of late. They've got to make sure that he gets enough good looks, and then they've got to limit roll guys. John Ferris stepped up and had a career-high 19 the last time they played. They can't allow another thing like that to happen.
Those keys brought to you by HSBC, the world's local bank. When we come back, starting lineups and the opening tip between the Canisius Golden Griffins and the Marist Red Foxes. You're watching the MAAC Television Network. This game is brought to you in part by the Pepsi-Cola Company, the joy of Pepsi. GHI, healthcare coverage from A to Z. By HSBC, the world's local bank. FYE for your entertainment, music, movies, games, and more. And by JetBlue Airways. It's not the only way to fly, but it should be. The 2003 EUS Communications MAAC Tournament rolls on. Canisius and Marist next. And let's take a look at today's starting lineups. Brought to you by I Love New York. Show your love for New York State. Carl Hood, Nick Eppenheimer, who is the top scorer on the season for the Red Foxes, along with Dennis Young, David Bennett, and Brandon Ellerby. And you're in for a treat at halftime. We'll have a conversation with Mr. Bennett. Very interesting story. Meanwhile, for Canisius, Hodari Mallory, Richard Jones, Yaku Moten Spruill, Brian Dukes, and Kevin Downey. Head coach Mike McDonald in his 6th season as head coach out in Western New York. And he will be going head-to-head with Dave McGarity, who is the Dean of MAAC coaches, sort of. He's been at Marist for 17 years, although Marist has only been in the MAAC for a few of those 17 years, but clearly one of the sage veterans of the MAAC coaching fraternity.
Got his 300th win earlier this season against Canisius at home.
The Red Foxes in their home whites, the Golden Griffins in the blue, and Marist comes in as the number 6 seed. Canisius comes in as number 9. But don't be fooled into thinking Marist has a huge advantage here. Again, this is expected to be one that goes right down to the wire. We do have one quick injury note that probably will not impact the game too much. Canisius reserve Mike Hanley will not play. He has a broken bone in his right foot, but he was not getting many minutes regardless.
And the injuries just continue to mount for Canisius. They get a touch inside for the big guy, Moten Spruill. He needs to get touches. He takes up so much size inside, yet his teammates tend to forget about him as the game wears on.
Yaku Moten Spruill with the first 2 points of the game. That is Y-A-K-U. Yaku. Bennett misses. Jones the rebound for the Golden Griffins.
See, Marist, they love to throw up the three-point shot. They do a terrific job of screening the defense in to free people up on the outside.
Now this Canisius team, as we take a look at the series history, is a team that I know a lot of teams around the league never want to face in the tournament. Yeah. The Golden Griffins always play tight games, always seem to get a win or two at least, and this year especially with the senior backcourt of Dukes and Mallory, will be an extremely tough out. Jones connects.
You're right. I mean, this is a team, Canisius, that's been to the semifinals 7 out of the last 10 years in the MAAC, including getting to the semis last year. This is a senior group that's won 5 games in the MAAC tournament the last 2 years, including getting to the finals 2 seasons ago.
Dennis Young on the low post for the Red Foxes, and they are on the board.
When Young can give him some inside presence and scoring inside, it frees things up on the outside. He's got such a big, strong, athletic body. At times, he's been disappointing that he hasn't gotten more done inside.
Young the rebound off the Moten Spruill miss. And Rob, I always like to keep track in this MAAC tournament of the seniors and watch how they go out. Young, one of those seniors, misfires this time. But for Marist, you've got Bennett, Young, and Eppeheimer, 3 seniors trying to extend their careers. And for Canisius in the backcourt, we talked about Dukes and Mallory. And none of them want to see their careers come to an end here tonight.
This was a group that expected yet another senior, Toby Foster, the all-time leader in 3-point field goals, who's been out all season long, redshirting, along with DeWitt Doss. So this is a Canisius team that's been banged up right from the start.
And it's interesting, as I look over at the Canisius bench, is that Toby Foster is in uniform. He has been in street clothes for most of the season, but he is in uniform this evening. There he is standing. And that is Toby Foster, who is redshirting and will play next year with another year of eligibility. But interesting that he is in uniform. Don't think that means anything. Pass deflected out of bounds by Mallory. We are just underway here in Trenton, New Jersey. Canisius 4, Marist 2. And the winner of this game gets Siena in tomorrow night's late game, what they're calling the second round. I've been calling it the quarterfinals, which is, as far as I'm concerned, it's got to be the quarterfinals because it's the round that leads into the semifinals. But with that bye for the #1 seed Manhattan, you really don't have a true quarterfinal because there are only 3 games. So in the truest sense of quarterfinal, you can't have a quarterfinal without 4 games. Mallory with 3.
Well, talking about 3, we got 3 games tomorrow. A deep 3 there by Mallory, who seems to have broken out of a bit of a late season shooting slump, as we said, coming off a game-high 22 against Ryder.
Well, Rob, Mallory began the season just shooting the lights out. I mean, absolutely didn't miss from beyond the arc, and the numbers he was posting were just mind-boggling.
Yeah, tied a school record with 7 threes early in the season against Bucknell. Mike McDonald excited about his team's start here. Excited about the fact that he's got that senior backcourt out on the floor, and Brian Dukes and Adari Mallory, 2 guys that can score it and provide leadership as well.
And some pretty good veteran production coming off the bench in the person of John Ferris, 6'6" junior from Liverpool, New York. And he is the #3 scoring option for Canisius. Eppeheimer with the block shot, and the Red Foxes try to run. Brandon Ellerby at the point, 5'11" sophomore from Plano, Texas.
He's been playing very well. One of the keys to their late season run has been the emergence as Ellerby settling into the point guard spot.
Young from 18 missed it. Rebound Canisius. Jones tried to dribble against the Marist point guard, and Ellerby finally gets the steal, who drops it off to Bennett for 2.
All right, on cue, talking about the fine play to point guard, the quickness defensively to come up with the steal, and then always thinking about finding his teammates. Nice pass out in the open floor.
15:50 left to go first half. 7-4, Canisius with the lead and the basketball. Air ball flung up by Jones, so a couple of bad decisions by Jones, and he hustles back, though, gets the block shot on Eppeheimer. Eppeheimer's pass knocked away by Ferris, still fighting for it. Somehow Young came away with a loose ball and laid it in.
That somehow is just with his brute strength right there, able to take the basketball away and fight through the contact.
Young is a senior from Warrenton, Georgia, who averages just a shade under 10 points per game, and it's back to a 1-point game. There's Ferris on the low post, blocked by Young. Ellerby comes away with it. Finds Bennett spotting up for 3. And an over-the-back foul against Dennis Young. Good position by Downey for the Golden Griffins. We have ourselves a timeout. We'll take a break from Sovereign Bank Arena in Trenton, New Jersey. The Marist Red Foxes Down 1 to Canisius on the MAAC Television Network. It is going to be a late night here at Sovereign Bank Arena, but HSBC nonetheless proud to sponsor the HSBC Family Section. HSBC salutes the MAAC and the families in attendance here tonight at the MAAC tournament. HSBC, the world's local bank. And that young man sitting in seat 10, I'm guessing, is going to be a little bit past his bedtime by the end of this one.
Luckily, no school tomorrow.
That's right. One of the greatest phrases ever invented for children.
Yes.
No school tomorrow. Here's Brian Dukes on Bennett to that left hand. Dukes is so good at from the right side going to the left hand.
And also so good with the deceptive quick first step. He gets by people so easily.
Dukes is 9th in the league in scoring at the point at 15 per game. Siegrist just off the bench with a rainbow three.
And that's the way he shoots it. And it looks as if the ball slips out of his hands. He's got hang time on his shot. Continues to step it up. His numbers have really improved coming down the stretch.
9-9. Canisius and Marist tied. 14-13 to go here in the first half. Another block shot by Eppeheimer, his second.
Talk about an arc. How about Siegrist here on the kick out? I mean, this thing's going to be up there for a while. You get hang time on that.
And went out of the shot.
It's so high it goes out of the camera angle.
Young man who transferred to Marist in his first year of eligibility at his hometown school. Again, Eppeheimer with the quick hands for the third time gets his hand on a shot attempt.
The transfer from St. Bonnie's.
Yes.
Boy, they've been in the news a little bit, huh?
You think?
An incredible situation there.
Well, he was part of the NCAA tournament team as a freshman at St. Bonaventure that gave Kentucky quite a scare, but looks like he got out of Dodge just the right time.
Oh, boy, that's a tough situation up there. Clearly something that you've not heard the last of.
Mallory now with 6 points with a couple of threes. Bennett with a quick pass, but it's deflected out of bounds by Dukes. 15 seconds on the shot clock. Moten Sproul and Downey come back in. Dukes goes out, as does Ferris. Chris Ravello's also in the game, along with Ron Wyatt, as Mike McDonald goes to his bench early and often. Bennett left alone. Mallory has it taken away by Siegrist, who wisely kicks it out. Chris Handy. And now Eppeheimer from 20.
You've got to guard the Red Foxes beyond the three-point line. In transition, you got to get out and find people. Broken plays, you've got to react. Eppeheimer at over 38% from beyond the three.
Well, you know, Rob, he's 38%. Bennett's 35%, Ellerby 33%, Hood 32%. And oh, by the way, Chris Handy, the 6'8 power forward, 52%.
And not bad for the big guy. Now he's starting to get some things done inside as well coming down the stretch.
13-12, Canisius with a 1-point lead. There was contact, Mallory and Bennett, but no call, and here come the Golden Griffins.
Bennett's been able to find shots. He just hasn't been able to find the mark.
Downey off the up fake. Wyatt's pass deflected by Bennett. The Marist defenders have gotten their hands on several passes and shot attempts already in the first 7.5 minutes.
Yeah, more aggressive than you've seen throughout much of the season for this Red Fox team.
Tracked down by Downey, the long rebound off the miss by Mallory. 8 minutes in, it's a 1-point game. 13-12, Canisius with the lead in the basketball. Moten Sproul, cross-court pass. Ravello from 20. Well short. Eppeheimer with the rebound. Ellerby has a step on Downey. Bennett wide open again, and this time, the third time's a charm. He's missed his last 2 open looks, but not that time.
And again, Ellerby, the guy making things happen. Dribble penetration along the baseline for the open look.
That's an easy call for Mike Kitts, the baseline official. That's a charge as Wyatt went in way out of control. And that brings us to our officials timeout with 11:26 on the clock. 15-13, Marist with the early 2-point lead over Canisius on the MAAC television network. Fans, the 2003 MAAC Hockey League Championship hits the ice March 21st and 23rd at Army's Tate Rink in West Point. All session passes $12 apiece. For ticket information, call 877-TIX-ARMY. And our guys able to find a hockey banner hanging from the rafters here at Sovereign Bank Arena. The Trenton Titans.
Home of the Titans. They've hung a couple banners here.
I love alliterative nicknames. The Trenton Titans. Outstanding. Can't even say alliterative. Illiterate, maybe. 11:26 to go here in the first half. This is the nightcap of a men's tripleheader as the 2003 EUS MAAC basketball tournament has come to the state of New Jersey for the first time since 1989. And in the early stages of the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference, the tournament was pretty much, at least the later rounds in the championship, staged at the Meadowlands Arena. But since Siena joined and since Canisius and Niagara joined back in 1989 and 1990, it has been pretty much the domain of upstate New York. But now it's back down in New Jersey. And it'll be interesting to see as the MAAC moves it around. It goes back to Albany next year for the 2004 tournament. But I would imagine that the Bridgeport Arena will wind up getting into the mix, and we'll also see it go back out to Mike McDonald's town out in Buffalo. So now Rich Enser has himself 4 viable arenas that 15 years ago no MAAC schools had. Now Buffalo, Albany, Trenton, Bridgeport all have brand new state-of-the-art arenas.
And it gives them options and the ability to move the tournament around to get different people out into the arenas to watch the tournament.
The 2003 Golf Championship is back at Disney's Wide World of Sports Complex in Orlando, Florida, April 25th, 26th, and 27th at Disney's Magnolia Golf Course. Contact Anthony Travel at 800-736-6377 or go online to anthonytravel.com. Eppeheimer for 3. This time it's off the mark. Segrist with the offensive rebound. Quickly inside to Handy. Segrist is one of those guys who always seems to be looking to pass before shooting. That time he misses on the shot. Handy again. Hood puts it up and in.
And Hood has been playing very well coming down the stretch.
We saw him score 17, a game we did at Bridgeport.
And you were calling his name all game long.
Speaking of which, there's another bucket for the freshman out of Houston, Texas.
Well, the last time these two teams met, he had 9 points and 10 rebounds. Real active, and he's a guy, the only scholarship freshman on this team, who has played better basketball as the year's gone on.
And they're hoping he'll wind up taking over fully the role that Rick Smith grew into. Graduated senior last year. John Ferris steps out for the 3.
Ferris, the guy who had a career-high 19 points and career-high 13 rebounds last time they played Marist. You know, sometimes there's a guy on the opposing team that always seems to play well against you. Ferris, one of those guys. On the other side, Dennis Young always seems to play well against the Griffs.
Just past the midpoint in the first half. Ferris, after the block shot at one end, can't connect on the jump hook. Eppeheimer, who has been very active here in the first 10 minutes, with another rebound. Handy had it blocked. Segrist kicks it out, deflected out of bounds into the bench by Ravello. So it'll be Marist basketball with substitutions. Mallory and Dukes in, Bennett and Young in. And also coming in for the first time for Canisius, 6'10" sophomore center Luke Hedges.
Hedges getting more time with the injury to Hanley, who broke his foot in practice on Wednesday.
Segrist. Shot clock at 7. Segrist fouled by Downey, and he will shoot 2. That's just the second team foul on Canisius. Both teams so far, Rob, much like the last game we saw, not a lot of fouls early, pretty clean game so far.
And good pace to the game. Good ball movement. Both teams moving the basketball well. Mike McDonald's team Get out to the bit of a lead, but Marist right there after they were cold early from beyond the three-point line, then started to heat it up.
Barely nicked the front of the rim on that one.
And Segrist with that over-exaggerated arch on his shot. I mean, this is a guy that scored over 2,300 points in high school. His shot was not with that much arc. It was a lot flatter. One of those strange things. He's a guy who could really shoot the basketball, and right now, not shooting it as well as he used to all the way back to his high school days.
Yeah, it's Spackenkill High School in the Poughkeepsie area. Maybe when he got to the Atlantic 10, he realized he needed a little more arc to get the shots off.
Get over top a couple of those guys, but he has been playing better basketball down the stretch.
Hood uses the screen from Young, but missed it. Dukes down to grab the rebound, and he'll dribble up. Haven't talked much about Brian Dukes yet, but chances are he'll put his imprint on this game before the night is through. Turn it back over to Marist.
And as Dukes is coming up the floor, you see his head and his eyes darting all over the place, trying to find people. The only player in Canisius history with more than 1,000 points and 500 assists. The guy that gets his teammates very involved.
Now, he made second team All-MAAC this year, and a lot of people felt he could have been on the first team. And if you did, you're voting truly by position. If you were trying to find the best true point guard in the league, he probably would have been on the first team, but quite often the coaches pick the 5 best players in their eyes, and so Brian Dukes wound up on the second team.
One of those guys who thought he should have been on the first team was his head coach, Mike McDonald. Talking to him this afternoon, he thought clearly Dukes was the best point guard all season long, and clearly you can make a case for that.
Well, again, I don't think the other coaches around the league would argue with that.
No.
They just went with what they felt were the best 5 rather than assigning one player per position, and Dukes draws the foul there, and we'll go to the line.
When he gets to the line, he makes foul shots.
Marist foul number 21, David Bennett, his first personal, team's third of the half. To the line for Canisius.
Dukes a 92% foul shooter, tops in the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference. Young man who grew 8 inches in high school. He's from Orchard Park, which, as many of you know, is the home to the Buffalo Bills. And he was a Western New York recruit that Mike McDonald convinced to stay home, or stay close to home. And we talked about in an earlier broadcast this year, Rob, the development that he has had and the things that he did as a high school player to convince Mike McDonald that, hey, this is not only a Division I player, but could be a pretty good one.
On a guy who has just continued to get better at the end of his high school career, and that's carried over to his college career.
We've got a timeout. Mike McDonald and his Canisius Golden Griffins on top by a point on the MAAC Television Network. A 7-0 run is giving Canisius a 1-point lead, but off the bench for Marist, a little spark by Carl Hood.
Well, no question, giving him good effort and good energy off the bench here on the offensive glass. The kick out, he finally comes up with the basketball, able to get the finish, and then just running the floor. Ellerby puts it right up to him. Tough finish off the glass. So Hood's giving him a good lift off the bench.
There you see Hood being watched by Mallory. Full court pressure by the Golden Griffins with a 1-point lead. 20-19, 7:50 left to go here in the first half. Eppeheimer, with his toes on the line, was fouled by Hedges, a bad foul. Eppeheimer will shoot 2.
His foot was on the line. One thing, if you're going to press Marist, you've got to recover, not just back into the paint, but out to the three-point line. You're taught when you're going to recover defensively in a full court press to get yourself back into the lane. With guys like Eppeheimer spotting up from beyond the three-point line, you've got to adjust out to the arc.
Well, Eppeheimer in the preseason was picked by the coaches for the third-team All-Star squad, and that is indeed where he has wound up here in the postseason. Again, those awards were announced on Monday, and then the big awards, the Coach of the Year, Player of the Year, Rookie of the Year, Sixth Man of the Year, Scholar Athlete of the Year, were all announced earlier today here in Trenton. Here's Richard Jones, who is receiving some treatment on his lower back during that last time out, but there he is mixing it up once again. One official asks for another to help, and it'll be Canisius ball. So Jones in there battling is rewarded, although he'll come out now. Moulton Sproul and Ferris come in. Hedges and Jones check out.
You get the idea, Doug, that Mallory's going to try to take the scoring into his own hands right now. He's very confident out on the floor, very aggressive at the offensive end.
Marist has not had a field goal in the last 3 minutes. Downey takes it upon himself for 3.
Well, Downey, a guy who's gone through an incredible season with the death of his dad, who he played for, and has hung in there. And you really got to give him a ton of credit to be able to fight through everything that he's been through this season.
7 minutes to go, first half. Young fouled by Moulton Sproul. A couple of big guys pounding on the low post. Moulton Sproul listed at 6'8", 280 pounds. That is a big young man.
That's beef on beef inside there, huh? We had quick on quick last game in the guard matchups. That's beef on beef inside.
That's the first foul on Moulton Sproul, the 4th against Canisius. Inbound to Bennett, who goes right to the basket, missed the layup. Ferris the rebound.
Bennett's a guy who ends up on the floor time and time again, a guy who throws his body around.
Once again, we'll hear your conversation with David Bennett at halftime.
That's why Moulton Sproul's got to get touches. He's just too big for guys to handle one-on-one in the low post. This team is so perimeter-oriented with their scoring. At times, they forget about the big guy.
Hood from the corner. Hood is good.
Exactly, stepping it up. And as this season has gone on, in the last 2 weeks, he's played his best basketball of the year.
Hood with 7 points off the bench, and he pulls the Red Foxes back within a point. 25-24, 6 minutes to go. Here in the first half from Sovereign Bank Arena. Mallory gets the screen. Lost the dribble, though. Eppenheimer comes up with it. He's got Ellerby on the left. Bounce pass to Ellerby, who kicks it back out to Hood for the nice 15-footer.
Well, it took a while to develop, but good ball movement. The bounce pass by Eppenheimer is the only way that basketball's getting through. And then Ellerby continues to now settle into that point guard spot. I mean, this is a guy who really is a combo guard, who was more of a scorer last year, but now settling in to that point guard position.
Moulton Sproul with position coming down to help Eppenheimer. He will pick up the personal foul, and Moulton Sproul will shoot a pair.
He's been able to get Andy on his back. Last couple possessions, sitting down and shaping up inside for Mike McDonald.
Moulton Sproul just a 55% foul shooter.
That's so important for post guys. You know, if you're going to pound the ball inside to your post player, you're going to make sure that you work on your foul shooting to take advantage. Sometimes you throw it in and you're a 50% foul shooter. It's as if it's a turnover,
right,
when you clank them both.
Otherwise, the team might employ the hack-a-shack defense on you. Although Shaquille has certainly gotten better at the line.
Could have gotten worse.
You're right. 26-26. We're all tied up. 5:12 to go here in the first half. Marist against Canisius. Hood. That's a 2-point shot from the other baseline. So Carl Hood now with 11 points off the bench for Marist. And the Red Foxes have taken a 2-point lead, 28-26.
Great ball movement as Hood runs along the baseline and they find him.
Those guys who can work the baseline are invaluable. Ferris called for the offensive foul, but you don't see a lot of that.
Now, guys lose track of you as you're running from baseline to baseline.
And you can get yourself some good looks. If you can knock down that baseline shot, it's a good way to work. And so far here, Carl Hood's doing just that.
The lost start of the mid-range jump shot.
Yep.
You know, whether it's out on the wing or along the baseline, guys that can knock down 15-foot shots.
Nice move by Eppenheimer. He went right by Ferris and laid it in for 2.
No more is a spot-up shooter. That time got it done on the move.
Now Marist on a 9-1 run, this after their little drought. And then the block shot by Handy. And here come the Red Foxes again. And again, it's Eppheimer, this time pulling the trigger from 3.
That's what's so difficult about this Red Fox team, their ability to stretch you out from 3. Whether it's in transition or in the half court, you got to go guard the arc.
It's a 12-1 run. Eppheimer with consecutive baskets for Marist.
Tough catch right here. Gets his feet set underneath him. Good looking stroke when the ball leaves his hands. The leading scorer on the season for the Red Foxes gets 3 more.
Well, he's got 10. Hood has 11. Bennett 5, Young 4, Segrist 3. And the Red Foxes have opened up a 7-point lead on Mike McDonald's club, and he used the timeout here.
Now needed to break the run. Eppheimer scored. As you take a look at the 3-point shooting, and Marist started cold, but since then has been red hot. Eppheimer scored his 1,000th point last weekend in the win up at Canisius.
Chris Ravello picked up by Ellerby. Now Duke's playing at the 2-guard spot.
He's been quiet offensively, so they take the ball out of his hands, see if they can't get him involved a little bit more as far as scoring goes.
Jones from 19 feet. Don't usually see many shots in a game from that 19-foot range, but we've already seen 3 or 4 already tonight.
You don't see a ton of shots if you're watching Canisius all year long from Jones, not a guy who takes a whole lot of shots.
Now he's reached his average already with 6. 3:40 to go first half. 33-28, Marist with the lead. Handy on the mismatch, had Dukes on his hip, but he lost it on the way up. Big break for Canisius. There's another 19-footer, feet on the line. And Ravello with the field goal, his first points of the night.
Ravello, a guy who missed a stretch of games a couple weeks ago with a broken finger, and that's how bad things have been for Canisius. He broke his finger in warm-ups.
Yep.
You know it's going to be one of those years as far as injuries go.
Dukes rebounds the handy miss. Dukes has it taken away. Ellerby with the swipe. Here comes Hood again. He went to the right hand and lays it in.
And again, Ellerby to Hood out in transition. So Hood's the guy diving to the basket, and then Eppheimer and company spotting up from 3. Marist getting a lot done in transition.
It's back to a 5-point lead for the Red Foxes. Eppheimer kept it alive to Handy. Handy. We talked about how good he is from the perimeter, but he missed that one. Over 50% despite being a big guy. From outside the 3-point line, and now Canisius will walk it up. Ravello takes his time into the front court with 2:15 on the clock here in the first half. Shot clock at 15. Wyatt pulls up, and he gets the roll.
Wyatt getting more time as the season is wound down, especially with Hanley out. He picks up his minutes in the rotation here tonight.
Wyatt is a 6'8 freshman from Washingtonville, New York. Bennett had it blocked, but he was fouled, and so David Bennett will go to the free throw line for 2. And we talked about David Bennett's big game, his career high 42 points against St. Peter's back on February 17th at Bridgeport, and he got a lot of that from the free throw line. 91% this season from the stripe.
It was 19 of 20 that game. Yeah, that's taken advantage of some opportunities, huh?
Moten, Sproul, and Downey come back in for the Griffs. Wyatt goes out, as does Brian Dukes. So a quiet first half so far for Brian Dukes. He sits with only 4 points. Nothing but net for David Bennett. He gets a pair, and the senior tri-captain has himself 7 points. We've got a timeout. 37-32 your score. Marist on top on the MAAC Television Network.
At Marist College, academic and athletic excellence go hand in hand.
This game is brought to you in part by Coach USA, the best way to see New York City. By the New York Lottery. New York Lotto gives you 2 games for $1, so play today. Hey, you never know. And by I Love New York. Show your love for New York State. And we would like to take a moment to say hello to our viewers on the Fox Sports New York Network and also the Empire Sports Network. Thanks for joining us here along the MAAC Television Network for the 2003 EUS Communications MAAC Basketball Tournament. This is the finale of our Friday basketball action, and in case you missed it earlier, Iona beat Loyola, St. Peter's beat Rider in overtime, and you see the matchups here. Canisius out shooting Marist, but it is the Red Foxes on top by 5. Those stats brought to you by GHI, healthcare coverage from A to Z.
Well, turnovers have been a big problem all game long for Canisius.
Downey for 3. Mallory way up for the rebound. Moten Sproul saved it, but he was on the end line. He tried to get the timeout, but his foot was on the green paint, so he was out of bounds.
This Canisius team 0-11 on the season when they turn the basketball over more than their opponents. You take a look at Sproul. Good hustle here by the big guy. Just landed before he got the timeout called. And landed
cheerleader.
Oh boy.
She's still checking herself. Oh,
trainer.
Ellerby waits for Ravello to go by, but then he missed badly. Moten Sproul with a rebound. Funny how Moten Sproul was no worse for the wear on that little collision. And then he comes in and commits the over-the-back foul.
Another collision. He's just throwing his body around, this time coming over the top. That's been a problem for Moten Sproul all season long. He tends to get himself into foul trouble. A guy who needs to make sure that he does a good job next year in the offseason working on his conditioning.
Well, Moten Sproul takes a seat. Canisius no longer has a football program out there in Buffalo. They did away with it this offseason, but he looks like a guy who could be an NFL tight end. At 6'8", 280 pounds with his agility and mobility. He looks like he could really cause some trouble out there.
Either that or a defensive pass rusher, huh? Duck if you're the quarterback with him coming.
Absolutely. Have him come around the corner from your blind side. No thank you. Chris Handy, a transfer from Brigham Young University. Began his college career as a Salt Lake City native. Began his career at BYU. Then went to junior college before landing in Poughkeepsie. It seems to be a common pipeline for Dave McGarity.
Yep, they've had good success with the junior college route, especially out of the state of Utah.
2 out of 2 for Handy.
Handy had a terrific weekend last weekend up in Western New York. Had a career-high 21 in the buzzer loss to Niagara and a double-double against Canisius with 15 points and 11 rebounds.
45 seconds to go in the half. Marist with the 7-point lead. Canisius with the ball. Jones. The Red Foxes can hold for 1. Hood with a rebound. Here's David Bennett. The shot clock is about a second and a half under what the game clock is.
We'll back it out and take some time off the clock with the 7-point lead.
Bennett gets the screen. Segrist trying to find Handy underneath. Instead, he kicks to the corner for Hood with 3 seconds to shoot. He nails it. And the Red Foxes run their half-court set to perfection and get exactly what they're looking for, a 10-point lead going into the break.
Oh, when you're able to take the basketball along the baseline, if you kick it out into the corner, you'll get open looks. Good first half for the Red Foxes.
16 points off the bench for Carl Hood, and he and the Red Foxes go to the locker room with a 10-point lead. We'll be back with more MAAC basketball after this. This game is brought to you in part by Broadway Marketing, mind-bending branded solutions. The New York Lottery. New York Lotto gives you 2 games for $1, so play today. Hey, you never know. And by I Love New York. Show your love for New York State. Welcome back, everybody, to Sovereign Bank Arena in Trenton, New Jersey. We're at the half, and joining us from the Marist Red Foxes, David Bennett. Standing by with the senior guard is my partner, Rob Kennedy. Rob?
Thanks, Doug, and I'm joined by Dave Bennett of the Marist College Red Foxes, and honored this past week as a second-team academic All-American. And first of all, Dave, congratulations.
Thank you.
Well, we looked at the stats, and you've got a 3.99 GPA in finance. My first question to you is, what in the world happened? You didn't get a 4.0. What class was it that got you the 3.99?
I had a computer class where we were doing WordPerfect and PowerPoint, and the teacher gave me an A-.
All right, well, have you had words with him?
No, actually, I've talked to her several times since then. We're pretty good friends, and there's no hard feelings.
All right, no problem. Now, obviously, as a student athlete, you've got pressures on you on the basketball court and the classroom, but you've got some added pressures a little bit different than most college basketball players. You're also a husband and a father. How does that factor in as well?
Well, I actually don't view that as pressures. It's more of a way to help me through it. I found that since I've been married, it's actually been easier to play basketball and to do the schoolwork. And it does, from an outsider's perspective, it does look like a lot, but I think that by prioritizing and focusing, it all kind of comes together for me, or it has to this point at least.
And your wife Shannon and your daughter Madison are a big part of your season as well. They come to all your games. They'll be here at the tournament. Also, your parents making the trip in from Utah as well, so a special weekend for you.
Right, it is, and it's really nice to have the support of my family. Shannon's been great. This year especially, she's been a little more critical of me as she has in the past. She used to just tell me I always played well, and now she kind of helps me try and tell me what I need to do better. So it's been a great year for that.
Another assistant coach for Coach McGarity, huh? Making some pointers. You're playing very well coming down the stretch, including a performance we had here on the MAAC television network, 42 points. And in that game, 19 for 20 from the foul line. Concentration in the classroom and also from the foul line, 7th in the country. Some pretty good numbers there.
Well, free throws, I've always felt you ought to make them. You're only 15 feet away and there's no one guarding you, and it's something I've worked on for a long time. They win and lose games. If you can make them, it can be a big turning point in a basketball game.
And your team playing well coming down the stretch. You've been a little bit banged up. How's your health coming into the tournament?
I feel as good now as I have for the entire season, so I'm excited for tonight's game.
All right, well, congratulations again. Second-team academic All-American. Quite a statement, quite an honor, and we appreciate you being here, and good luck the rest of the tournament.
Thank you.
We are at the half between David Bennett's Marist Red Foxes and the Golden Griffins. We'll be back with more at the half here at the Sovereign Bank Arena. You're watching the MAAC Television Network. And our MAAC Rookie of the Year, Kiki Clark, in case you missed it, put up 36 points in the previous game to lift St. Peter's into the second round with an overtime win over Ryder. Meanwhile, we are at the half and just about ready for the start of the second half. Marist with a 7-0 run right before the intermission to open up a 10-point lead, and it'll be interesting to see how the Golden Griffins try and counter that here in the early part of the second half.
We're going to have to do something defensively to force some turnovers. How about Marist? Just one turnover in the first 20 minutes of play. A well-played first half for the Red Foxes.
When was the last time you saw a team with only one turnover in a half?
You never see it.
Have you ever seen it? I don't remember
ever
seeing
see that, huh?
That's unbelievable.
Take a look. It's been a two-man show. Eppenheimer and Hood. Hood with the incredible performance off the bench with 16 points, huh? Pretty good stat line for Hood. 7 to 10 from the floor, including 2 for 2 from beyond the three-point line.
Pretty good for an entire game, let alone for a half. And we are underway. Marist with the basketball to begin the second half. Ellerby at the point out there with Bennett, Young. Hood gets the start, and Eppenheimer. For Canisius in their road blue uniforms as the lower seed. Dukes, Downey, Moten Sproul, Jones, and Hodari Mallory, who also had a quiet first half. We didn't call his name very much.
Canisius mixes it up defensively and goes zone first possession out of the gate in the second half.
Bennett got a decent look but couldn't convert. Downey fouled on his drive to the basket.
Aggressive move by Downey.
And it's been a cleanly played game so far. As a team, Marist has only committed 4 fouls. 1 turnover, 4 fouls in almost 21 minutes of action.
Sideline, sideline, side out. Screener.
Jones has position. They find him, but the pass takes him out near the corner. And so the Griffs reverse the ball. Mallory guarded by Hood. Off of the screen. He a little too strong on it. Moten Sproul fouled on the putback attempt, and he'll go to the line to shoot 2. And well, maybe that's the way to work your way back into it. Work the offensive glass and go inside to a guy like Moten Sproul.
Well, when he gets touches, whether it's off the set half-court offense or off the offensive boards, he usually delivers. Just got to be able to keep him on the floor. Foul trouble once again, limiting his time in the first half.
For 2, though. We talked about his trouble at the free throw line, only 55% on the year.
That's something he's going to have to work on in the offseason. You work so hard to get an offensive rebound and an opportunity, and then you miss both foul shots. It's as if you turn the basketball over.
Yep, he's missed 3 out of 4 here tonight from the line. Nobody has scored yet here in the second half. 42-32, Marist with the lead in the basketball. Around the perimeter to Eppeheimer. Mallory able to track down the rebound up to Dukes.
And Dukes is going to have to make some things happen. He was very quiet in the first half. They need his senior leadership and his scoring.
Dukes has just 4, Mallory just 5. Moten Sproul is the leading Griff scorer here tonight with 7.
Mallory had all 5 of those points in the first 2 to 3 minutes of play. So they're 2 seniors who you would expect the veteran backcourt to step it up. They've been very quiet here over the last 20 minutes of play.
Double dribble against Brandon Ellerby. And so the Golden Griffins will get it back.
And that experienced senior backcourt is something that worried Dave McGarity coming into the game.
Marist came in with a record of 12-15 overall, 8-10 in the MAAC. That's good for 6th place. Mallory puts up a wild shot. Jones. Hood tips it out. Bennett has it. Hood took an elbow to the top of the head. He's struggling to get back up court, but then he jumps back in trying to steal the ball back. Jones missed it. Eppeheimer clears.
Bring on the Dancing Bears, huh?
Yeah.
A little wild possession there. Just the 2nd turnover for the Red Foxes in the game.
And Adari Mallory just called to the bench asking for relief. Young missed it. Dukes with another defensive rebound. There's Dukes on the penetration. Count the basket in 1, and head coach Mike McDonald pumps his fist over on the Canisius bench.
Well, he knows how important Brian Dukes is to this team. And as we said, not just his leadership and passing ability.
Second team all-conference. He's up to 7 points now with that 3-point play. And it's back to a 7-point game. 42-35, Marist with the lead in the basketball. 17:06 to go.
When you play zone against this Marist team, you usually have to worry about the perimeter. This time it's Handy trying to sneak one inside against the zone.
Nice job by Moten Sproul not to pick up the foul and to hold his ground and get the block shot.
Well, he's so big, if he just holds his ground and doesn't reach down and slap at it, he's going to be an effective defender in the post.
Jones inside to Ferris. John Ferris able to get himself enough space to get a clear path to the basket for 2.
He was relatively quiet in the first half. Just 3 points in the first half. This is a guy who had a career-high 19 in the last matchup against Marist.
He averages 10 per game. Hood, who had 16 in the first half, runs into a brick wall in Moten Sproul, but that was after the foul call against Brian Dukes.
Dukes on the reach in from behind. Tell you what, this got to hurt running into Moten Sproul, huh? Watch this, you just bounce off him, and that's like a pinball, huh?
He looked like a Hood ornament.
Yeah. And Hood's no small guy himself at 6'4".
Yikes. 42-37. Marist with the lead, Canisius with the ball. Dukes off the hesitation, pull up from 16. Eppeheimer with the rebound. That's 6 rebounds to go along with 10 points for the senior forward from Pottstown, PA.
And a couple blocks as well, so he's been active. You see Marist struggling from the field here. The second half, 0 for 5. Ellerby. Amazingly enough, in their last game, Marist did not score a field goal in the last 6:45 of the game, yet still won.
Nice job by Jones to get the steal. Ravello dribbles up. Ravello didn't feel the defense around him. Ellerby with the steal, right to the rim for two.
Now the quickness and speed of Ellerby in the open floor, able to make sure he avoided the contact and defensive pressure from Ferris out in transition.
44-37, Marist back up on top by 7. Ferris have to guard him out there. Great spin move, but lost it a little bit with the left hand. Back come the Red Foxes.
Took off too far from the goal.
Eppeheimer's pass kicked by Jones, so they reset the shot clock. There will be 35 on the clock when we come back. 15:08 remaining in regulation. 44-37 Marist on the MAAC television network. Marist on top by 7 over Canisius. 15:08 to go in the second half here at the MAAC basketball tournament. Earlier today in Trenton, the MAAC Player of the Year was announced. Sponsored by Pepsi, the joy of Pepsi. The MAAC Men's Player of the Year is
Luis Flores, the 6'2" junior guard.
And congratulations to Luis Flores and really all the Manhattan Jaspers, both on the men's and women's side. It has really been a tremendous season at Dratty Gymnasium, both winning the regular season crowns and coming into this tournament as the #1 seeds. Brandon Ellerby misfires on the three-point attempt, and the Golden Griffins down by 7 get the ball back. 14:45 to go. Traveling violation on Hodari Mallory.
Mallory, who was in such a good offensive rhythm in the first couple minutes of the ball game, since then has really struggled.
Quite often we see him derive his offense from his defense. He leads the conference in steals per game, nearly 2 per game, but we haven't seen that aspect of what he can bring to the table.
And when he's struggling offensively as well, he usually likes to get some off the offensive glass, which he hasn't done either.
Handy runs into that brick wall. Here's Handy again with some room. Instead kicks it out to Siegrist, who kicked it out of bounds. Quick hands by Ravello forced that turnover.
Canisius able to close out quickly to shooters in the zone defense.
6 minutes gone by here in the second half. Well, we saw in the previous game, Rob, St. Peter's hold on to a lead similar to this one, 6, 7, 8, 9 points. Feel comfortable with it. But in the end, Ryder was able to force overtime on a Robert Taylor three-point buzzer beater. Perhaps we'll have the same kind of drama here in the nightcap.
That's what the three-point shot does for you, right? I mean, you can make up a lot of ground coming down the stretch, and it was three-point shooting for Ryder that put them in the hole to start off with. They couldn't make any threes, and all of a sudden, lo and behold, they go 3 for 4 from 3 coming down the stretch and force overtime.
Do you remember the year, I'm guessing it was 85 or 86, when they implemented the three-point shot in college basketball? 86? 87?
Yeah, 86, I think. The funniest year was the year that the ACC used the shorter three-point line.
Yeah. That intersected the top of the key.
That's right, came inside of it. Terry Gannon, I think, had about 300 that year. Wolfpack team that lived off that three-point line.
13:30 to go second half. Still a 7-point lead for Marist. Handy with a block, but Moulton Sproul with stick-to-itiveness now has 9 points.
Luckily, they didn't foul him. That's about the only way you can stop him inside. Once he catches it cleanly, he's able to score.
The Canisius bench is up, and the fans who made the trip here to Trenton from Buffalo starting to make a little bit of noise. Bennett tries to answer that. Eppeheimer from the corner.
Well, if you're going to stay in that zone defense for a long stretch against Marist, you know you're going to get beat from the outside by the likes of Eppeheimer.
He has 13 points. Ferris to the baseline. Strong to the basket. Eppeheimer was beaten by a step, and Ferris was big enough to pull his way up and in.
And he sealed them on his back. That's a good use of your body. Make sure the defender has no chance to come challenge.
Marist with possession and a 6-point lead. Handy again tries to go against Moten Sproul, who just does not move. He is the immovable object. Siegrist puts that up like a Larry Bird shot in the commercial a few years ago, through the rafters.
The old McDonald's commercial.
Absolutely.
Huh?
Nothing
a little
but net.
horse.
In the commercial, it was nothing but net, but nothing but rim on that one. Ferris strong inside again.
And he's starting to feel it. Now demanding the basketball as he posts up inside. Just like that. Canisius back into the ball game, trailing by 4.
47-43, 11:47 to go. Three-point shooting has gone cold for the Red Foxes here in the second half.
And surprisingly, many of those misses are against the zone defense. So the switching defense right now by Canisius has not been solved by Marist.
We've got an officials timeout. Rob will step away from Sovereign Bank Arena. It's a 4-point game here on the MAAC Television Network. Dave McGarrity's Marist Red Foxes lead by 4. And let's take this opportunity to check out the winner of the New York Lottery MAAC Scholar Athlete of the. Congratulations to Phil Cavo. He and the Siena Saints await the winner of this one. That'll be played tomorrow night. Scheduled tip-off 9:15. That game can be seen on both the MSG and Empire networks. For those of you watching tonight on Fox Sports New York and Empire, glad you could join us for a little March Madness from Central Jersey. And for those of you watching at Empire out in Western New York, don't turn that dial. Brian Dukes has just pulled your Golden Griffins within 2.
And again, another finish with his left around the basket, coming from the right side.
Well, 9 points now for Dukes, Moten Sproul, and Ferris.
Let's see what Marist has done to adjust to the zone defense in the last timeout.
Mallory couldn't stay in bounds on that rebound. So rather than getting the ball back with a chance to tie or take the lead, now with 11 minutes on the clock, Marist gets another possession.
And Marist was so crisp attacking the man-to-man defense. Quick ball reversal, skipping a basketball. And now against the zone defense, they've been much more stagnant offensively.
Ellerby tries a tough pass. Nice catch by Hood. And he's got his first 2 here in the second half. 18 points now for Carl Hood.
So a guy who had so much going on offensively in the first half finally gets on the board here in the second.
Back to a 4-point Marist lead. Luke Hedges has come back into the game for Canisius. He sets the screen for Jones. Passes off to Mallory on the wing. Mallory, nice fake to get himself open, but he missed it. Hood with a rebound.
Well, great one-on-one move to get himself the shot. He just can't finish.
Ellerby late getting the ball to Bennett, who is blocked by Mallory. Here come the Griffs, down 4.
A lot of contact, no call.
Dukes looks for help. Bennett with a little face guarding. Lob inside, intended for Hedges, goes out of bounds untouched, and so Marist gets it back with 10:01 on the clock.
And not a smart play there for Mallory. I mean, what's Hedges going to do with the basketball? Here's a guy who hardly plays, averages less than a point per game. What are you worried about posting him up for?
Mallory out. Been a long evening for him so far, only 5 points. He knows a thing or two about heroics in the MAAC tournament. Last year as a junior, one of the heroes with a buzzer beater of his own for the Golden Griffins.
Win against #1 seeded Ryder in that overtime thriller last year.
Dukes on Eppeheimer, who draws the foul. So Dukes will go to the line for 2. Defense turns to offense. We talked about Mallory's ability to do that, and Dukes does it here for Mike McDonald's ball club.
Mike McDonald's team was unable to get out and run in the first half because Marist never turned the basketball over. Now all of a sudden they've been able to force some turnovers with their defense. They've been able to get out and run.
Marist had only 1 turnover in the first half and led 42-32 at the intermission. Brian Dukes now into double figures has helped to scratch and claw the Golden Griffins back within 3.
Don't put this guy to the foul line, huh?
Nope.
92%.
He and Bennett and Flores could stand there all day in a 3-man free throw shooting contest. A game of attrition. Everybody would be declared the winner, that nobody misses.
3 of the top foul shooters in the country. The MAAC's got a couple of the best foul shooting teams in the country as well, including Marist.
Ellerby trying to find Young on the post, but again, Moten Sproul clogging things up. Eppeheimer hits the 3.
He's the only guy that's been able to stretch out the zone defense. His second 3 over top the zone in the last few minutes. Eppeheimer stepping way outside the zone, so they can't recover to him.
And he's now got 16 points. Hood got a hand on the pass. It went out of bounds. They've reset the shot clock. Now it's back to 26. It had gone to 35. 9 minutes to go. Dukes barreled into Bennett, and finally a whistle, and the call is?
Well, they say it's off of Bennett.
Just out of bounds.
Yeah, can't guard any better than Bennett did right there. He's the guy who held his ground. Looked like it was a clear offensive foul against Dukes, but they don't get it.
Downey brings it back out. Kevin Downey, 6'3" freshman from Livonia, New York. Tried the give and go with Jones, but well defended by Ellerby. Moten Sproul fouled, and Young picks it up, so Moten Sproul will go back to the line.
That's the only way they've been able to stop the big guy inside, is by putting him to the foul line. He just clears out so much space in the low post. You see Young trying to play from behind him, and that is a problem. You're not going to stop the big guy from behind.
Unfortunately, though, the big fella has missed 5 out of 6 from the line tonight. That one looked better than some of the others, but the same net result. Handy in. Young goes out after picking up his 3rd foul.
Young's been a non-factor this evening.
Moten Sproul gets 1 out of 2. He has 10. Yeah, Young sits down with only 4 points, Rob. Nonetheless, the Red Foxes lead 52-48. 8:35 to go here in the second half. And they work the perimeter. From the high post, back out to Bennett. His pull-up off the mark. Jones the rebound for the Golden Griffins.
Even though they don't score, a little better ball movement against the zone, able to get themselves into gaps.
Moten Sproul posting on Handy. Missed the layup. Eppeheimer somehow gets the rebound.
Now Moten Sproul did everything but finish. Knocked Handy down, had himself in a wide open layup inside, and left it long.
Hood found himself with a lane to the basket for 2.
He's playing with a lot of confidence right now, and why not? A new career high, continues to build on that number.
20 points for Hood. Dukes gets it back out to Downey, who pulls up. Nice looking shot, had the balance, and nice rotation.
A tough finish inside. He's got good size for a guard at 6'3", and that's where it comes in handy when you get yourself into the lane, able to shoot over top of people.
Canisius has trimmed the lead back to 4. Here's Handy. Bennett to Handy from the baseline. Moten Sproul gets the miss. Eppeheimer with the rebound, and Marist continues to hold Canisius at bay, at least for now.
Hold them at bay because of their three-point shooting.
Handy tries again for the baseline and misses again from that very same spot.
Those are shots he regularly hits. A very good face-up shooter.
30-second timeout called by Canisius.
Timeout to not only set things up, but also to get Dari Mallory back into the game, who was sitting at the scorer's table.
And Rob, now it's time for Broadway Marketing's mind-bending trivia. Broadway Marketing, mind-bending branded solutions. What year was the MAAC men's basketball tournament final first televised on ESPN? Well, ESPN came about in the early 80s, 79, 80, something like that. And that all coincided with the boom of college basketball. I mean, the MAAC was about that same age, the Big East. some of the other conferences. I mean, as basketball, college basketball in the Northeast evolved, so did cable television along with ESPN, and so that's a pretty good question. I wouldn't know when the first year the MAAC was on the finals.
Nope, I wouldn't know that either, but certainly championship week has done a lot to create the March Madness. Not just the NCAA tournament, but the tournaments leading into the big dance are such a part of this March Madness that just takes over all of America. Absolutely. You know, in your office pools and everything else that's going on. You got people who don't even pay attention to it all season long, not worrying about who they're going to pick in their pool.
Yeah, certainly ESPN has played a huge role in that, and they did a big part of having the explosion of the early rounds. Remember, it's almost become like a national holiday for a lot of people those first couple of days of the tournament when you've got all the upset specials going on. ESPN was the one that got you to each of the arenas to catch all of the ends of the games.
And they had great games to switch to all the time. It seemed just like on cue. They'd take you to another game, and all of a sudden you'd see a buzzer beater, and clearly that really did a lot to now make March Madness something that's part of the American fabric.
Yep, and CBS has taken over for that and captures it much the same way. Mallory spins into the lane. Bennett hits the deck. Young with a rebound, but it was taken away by Jones. However, he lost it out of bounds, and Marist will have it when we come back. Carl Hood with a career-high 20 has led the Red Foxes to a 4-point lead here on the MAAC Television Network. Some of the kids from Western New York, you make the trip to Trenton, New Jersey. You got to stay up to see the end of the ball game. And watching Canisius get back in this game, spearheaded by Brian Dukes.
They've had more to cheer about here in the second half as Brian Dukes has led the way, able to get out in transition and create things, and John Ferris getting it done inside. But it's been Brian Dukes who's gotten them back into the game with his aggressive play. Notice no highlights of Adari Mallory, who has been dead quiet here throughout the evening. He just can't get things going offensively.
Dukes has 11 points to lead Canisius. Moten Sproul with 10. And the other man close to double figures, John Ferris with 9. There is Adari Mallory, a 6'3" senior from Buffalo's McKinley High School, who, again, can provide instant offense, but so far it's been a pretty quiet night. 6:07 to go here in regulation time. 54-50, Marist with the lead and the basketball. .12 on the shot clock. Ellerby, the entry pass to Young. Pass back out. Bennett is able to get the timeout.
A smart play by Bennett to avoid the over and back call. His team retains possession. They'll have 5 seconds on the shot clock to try and find a shot. Even if he throws it back in, there's no chance that they're going to get a shot off.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, it's time to check back in with our Broadway Marketing's mind-bending trivia question. Broadway Marketing, mind-bending branded solutions. And what year was the MAAC men's basketball tournament first broadcast on ESPN, the championship game? 1986. Ah, yes, I remember it well. 1986. Where were you in 1986, my friend?
Well, still in school. Right? Yeah, 86. Still up at Columbia. Somehow trying to fight my way through things. Worried about some class, I can tell you that much.
Yeah, right. All right, let's see. 1986, so that championship was Fairfield beating Holy Cross 67-64. Bennett gets the shot at the buzzer.
He's the guy that made the play, right? He gets the timeout to save the possession, and then he saves the day with the runner in the lane.
David Bennett now with 9 points. Back to a 6-point Marist lead. That was a pretty hearty bunch of students who came down from Poughkeepsie, who have been standing behind the Marist bench all game long, starting to make some noise for defense, but Jones will quiet them with that bank shot.
Tough spinning move off the glass by Jones.
Under 5 minutes to go. It's a 4-point game. Ellerby hits the three. That's a big shot for the sophomore from Plano, Texas, and the fans that I spoke of from Poughkeepsie love it.
They've got their sixth-man T-shirt on right now, trying to provide a little lift.
Mallory from 21.
That's a huge shot right there as well. Tit for tat. All of a sudden they hit a three and you match it. Gets the lead back down to 4. Let's see if Canisius stays in the zone or whether or not, they'll stay in the zone, but you know they're going to have to start shading the people. Can't give up threes against the zone.
4:15 on the clock. Young from the high post.
Well, Young,
6 for Young.
And a guy who usually plays well against Canisius. Been very quiet all night long. Yet steps out, hits a face-up jumper.
Back to a 6-point game. 4 minutes to go. Jones missed it. Rebound Young.
And not the shot they're looking for there from Jones.
Now the Red Foxes on top by 6. Working around the perimeter.
I'm not sure how long Canisius can stay in this zone defense.
Bennett from 20.
Well, can't be in it. Got to get out it and go straight man. That three stretches it out to a 9-point lead. One possession too late to change things up defensively.
Bennett, then Young, then back to Bennett with an Ellerby 3 thrown in there, and Dave McGarrity's club has caught fire.
Well, and it's been done from beyond the 3-point line. See right there, the defense hides behind that high screen. You can't hide behind it when Bennett's got the basketball in his hands. He's too good of an outside shooter. And defensively on that trip, they were caught in between whether or not they were going to come out of the zone defense and match straight man, and it didn't work out.
Now, we knew about ankle injuries incurred in the final weekend of the regular season. One by Jerry Johnson of Ryder, and he clearly wasn't fully sound in the last game. David Bennett, however, has been right on his game.
Yeah, he's not limping around like Jerry Johnson was, and also fighting through a bad back as well. So he's been banged up through much of the year, and not surprising the way he throws his body around.
22 going on 42.
Yeah.
Marist with a 10-5 run over the last couple of minutes to up the lead to 9, 64-55, and it's getting close to being back where it was at halftime. It was a 10-point game at the intermission.
And here's where Dukes and Mallory, their experienced backcourt, has to step up.
That was a nice looking move, but Dukes couldn't finish.
But he and Mallory are the guys that if they're going to make up this 9-point deficit, they're the guys that are going to have to lead them.
And going to have to do it on this end now in the man-to-man defense. Bennett tries to pick his way into the lane. Eppheimer from 20. Can't continue the hot streak. Moten Sproul clears the rebound.
And that would have been a dagger had that gone.
Dukes. Moten Sproul into Ferris. Count that basket, and you know John Ferris was the spark that got Canisius going early in the second half. Perhaps he'll be the spark late.
A nice high-low as Moten Sproul dumps it down inside to a very aggressive John Ferris. As soon as he catches the basketball, he's attacking the rim, creates the contact, accepts it, and finishes it.
That's 11 now for Ferris, and the two Golden Griffin wide bodies have been very effective when they've gotten the ball in the post. They've either made baskets or gotten to the free throw line. And as we've talked about, the free throw difficulties for Moten Sproul has kind of undermined their opportunity to make this a little bit closer. Ferris, though, takes care of business. He's got 12, and we're back to a 6-point game, 64-58 Marist on the MAAC television network. Marist with a 6-point lead, late stages second half of this MAAC tournament opener, and this being the MAAC tournament. All the awards were announced earlier. Let's give you one more award winner, the New York Lottery MAAC Scholar Athlete on the women's side. Along with Rob Kennedy, this is Doug Sherman. Glad you could join us here on a late night. And we've got a couple more of those coming up this weekend with March Madness in Trenton, New Jersey. Mallory picks up his first.
Yeah, Canisius able to get up and be aggressive in this full court pressure because that's just the second team foul for Canisius here in the second half.
And Mallory gets slapped with another, and clearly in that break, Mike McDonald said, hey, We got to pick up some fouls.
No question. They've got to make up ground, so you may have to put them to the line later on. But first of all, be aggressive. Try to come up with steals with the full court press.
Ellerby. He is a very quick ball player. And foul committed by Canisius, just the 4th team foul.
Now you might as well play straight up. Don't foul him again to reset the shot clock.
Hood able to avoid Jones, who came charging out, and then Downey commits the foul.
By fouling here in the half court, all it does is reset the shot clock, allow Marist to take some more time off the clock. Be aggressive, but don't just come out to give up the foul.
Meanwhile, the Red Foxes content to just work some time off the clock. Hood missed the 3. Downey, look away to Jones for the reverse. It's a 4-point game, under 2 minutes to go.
That took a while to develop, but finally able to get the basket out in transition, and with the score, the quick timeout, able to reset up in the full court press.
The Golden Griffins now with 4 players in double figures. Off of the transition, Downey able to find his teammate Jones.
Spins once, and then Jones able to find the open lane as he's running out in transition, and Downey found him.
Jones, a sophomore from Boston, with 10 points. Moton Sproul has 10. Dukes has 11, and John Ferris with 12. Madari Mallory has 8. This copyrighted telecast of the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference may not be retransmitted, reproduced, or rebroadcast without the express written consent of the MAAC and MAAC Properties, a division of Host Communications Incorporated. Lots of folks down from Poughkeepsie, and clearly the Marist Red Foxes program, one of the better supported in their community. They draw very well at the McCann Center, and those fans travel around and follow their club.
You got the band, the cheerleaders, the student section, as well as another turnover, huh?
Yeah.
So Marist, after turning it over just once in the first half, turnovers becoming a problem somewhat here in the second half. All of a sudden, Canisius, who seemed dead and buried a few different times, right back in it.
They went inside to Ferris, but he lost it. And then he commits the foul. So a missed opportunity for the Golden Griffins. They're down 4. Could have cut it to 1 with a 3.
Ferris shaking his head. He thought he was fouled as he went up to the basket. The kid's right on top of it, said nope, it was all ball.
That foul, the second on Ferris, and now 6 for Canisius. So they have gotten themselves with 1:47 in the position they want to be able to stop the clock and put Marist to the line with a 1-and-1 if they need to.
Yeah, still too early right now, but you're right, setting it up for a couple possessions from now to put them to the line. Remember, Marist, one of the best foul shooting teams in the country, though. They shoot it at 78% from the line.
And that guy right there, David Bennett, a prime reason why, and a timeout used by Dave McGarity. He saw his senior captain in trouble in that double team and very nearly would have turned the ball over again.
And that's why you save all your timeouts to the end of the game. So if you need one to save a possession, you have it in hand.
You see Coach McGarity trying to point out an abrasion on Bennett's face to the official, saying, hey, he didn't just get that himself. David looks no worse for the wear. Well, if you like what you see tonight, we're going to have lots more tomorrow. Brought to you by JetBlue Airways. It's not the only way to fly, but it should be. And it is tournament time indeed. And we've got most of our matchups for tomorrow set. Iona against Niagara will be on the air at 4:30 on both MSG and Empire, followed by St. Peter's and Fairfield. And then Siena still awaiting the winner of this one between Canisius and Marist. It's the quarterfinal round, if you will. Still the top-seeded Manhattan Jaspers able to sit back, relax, and wait until Sunday's semifinals. The double bye as the top seed. Here's Bennett with a shot clock at 2, able to get it off, but Ferris, who defended, then gets the rebound with 1:08 to go. Canisius down 4 with the ball.
Mallory thought about it, even though he's struggling. He thought long and hard about pulling one off.
Ferris posting, Downey instead pulls Canisius within a point, under a minute to go.
Plenty of time. No need to give up the foul. You see the Canisius bench up and active. They know they're right back into this basketball game.
Is this Rider St. Peter's 2? Almost a carbon copy of our last game. 45 seconds to go. Ellerby cross court to Siegrist. Back out Eppeheimer. Siegrist penetrates right to the basket, but he missed the bunny. Canisius down a point, can hold for a final shot and a chance to win it. Mike McDonald calls a timeout.
And as you said, deja vu all over again, huh? We had a Rider game where it looked like St. Peter's had the game in hand throughout. That was Marist tonight, and all of a sudden Mike McDonald's team has possession, down by 1. Amazing. Siegrist gets by the defender, gets all the way to the rim and misses it. Doesn't put it on the backboard, instead tries to finish with the finger roll. And now Canisius with the timeout. Under 30 seconds, a 8-0 run in the last minute and a half to set this situation.
What a mood swing if you're Marist. You see the lane just open up. You think, hey, there's an easy 2. We're back up 3. There's no way. Oh.
And keep this in mind. This has been a tough year for Canisius. 1-9 so far this season in games decided by 5 points or less. So they've been in this position before. They just have not come out on the winning end very often.
Now that sounds to me, Rob, like a team struggling with its backcourt in pressure situations and missing mightily. Sean Kennedy, still the man who was in charge. Oh, that was Canisius, excuse me. I take that back. I thought you had said it was about Marist. So Canisius is the team 1-9, and wow, in games decided by.
And that's surprising.
That is very surprising.
With their backcourt of Brian Dukes and Mallory,
Absolutely.
as you were saying, you know, that's the time where you get your guards to step up and make plays. But it just hasn't worked out for them so far this year, including the 2 losses to Marist, both games that were 5-point losses. Let's see if they're going to hold for the last one or find the first good one.
Trying to steal one here. Canisius was down 10 at the half. Dukes can't give the Griffs the lead, and Handy up above for the rebound and the quick foul by Canisius. So they went for the first good look. Dukes couldn't get the roll.
The runner in the lane, and remember, you said it right off the bat, Doug, a guy that likes to finish with his left hand, nearly put it in. Now Handy will find himself at the line. Remember, by giving up those fouls the last couple minutes, it's a quick 1-on-1 situation right off the bat.
So Handy, an 82% foul shooter at the line.
But a guy who's been struggling to find his range from about 15 feet. Missed a couple 15-footers along the right baseline.
Handy is 2 for 2 from the line, but 0 for 8 from the floor tonight.
Just needed to find that spot, huh? 15 feet away, straight on.
Trying to once again make it a 3-point game.
Canisius still plenty of time. They don't have to settle for the 3. They can go find a quick 2.
Dukes penetrates, and an offensive foul. Bennett drew the charge.
We saw earlier where Bennett had great defensive position and they didn't call the foul that time. Able to get himself in front. That was a close one.
And so a timeout called by Dave McGarity, and the Red Foxes will talk it over, up 3.
That's why it's the hardest call in basketball. You've got Bennett moving, but it looked like Dukes may have dropped his shoulder.
Well, a good job by Bennett to anticipate that move. You talked about it. With 15 seconds on the clock or so, they had the opportunity to try for 2, and he anticipated that Dukes, as is his wont, might drive with the left hand, and he was there first, apparently.
You'd expect that from a 3.99 GPA guy, huh? Smart play. Many times the defense all of a sudden worries about the 3, and you sneak in for the easy layup.
What was the class that he got the A- in? Do you remember?
Yeah, some computer class. Microsoft Word class, PowerPoint, something like that.
Well, he's getting straight A's tonight so far. David Bennett trying to move his Red Foxes on to the next round.
And if you're Canisius, you got to come up with a steal, especially the way Marist knocks down foul shots.
Inbound to Bennett. That's who they wanted to get the ball, and the foul by Dukes will send Bennett, a 91% foul shooter, to the line.
good job from the bench. That's why Dave McGarity took the timeout to make sure that the basketball got into David Bennett's hands. You know, sometimes you draw it up on the sideline and your team comes out and doesn't execute. Good execution to put the ball in the right guy's hands.
Ferris comes back in. Ravello out for Canisius. Hood is returned for Marist. And Siegrist is out.
Now with that foul shot, now if you're Canisius, now you do have to get a three. The best three-point shooter for the Griffs, Mallory at 41%.
Bennett gets a pair. He's got 14. Under 10 seconds to go. Mallory for three. The rebound by Nick Eppheimer, and that should do it.
A nice comeback by Canisius to get themselves back into the game. Had the basketball in their hands, down by one with less than 30 seconds left, but Marist, the team who clearly has played the better game, is able to survive.
And our Pepsi player of the game is Carl Hood, the freshman for the Red Foxes. Pepsi, the joy of Pepsi. And you know the guy at the line could be co-Pepsi player of the game. 16 points, 11 rebounds for Eppheimer, and he's been very active, as we've talked about, right from the outset.
In both halves, you know, when you look at Hood, he had 16 of his 20. And now a nice gesture here by Mike McDonald, getting his two senior guards out of the game. Two guys that finished with terrific Canisius careers. Harry Mallory and Dukes, two guys with over 1,000 points. Nice gesture.
Ferris at the buzzer missed it, and that'll do it. The Marist Red Foxes move on to face Siena tomorrow night. 69-63, your final score. We'll be back to wrap things here from Sovereign Bank Arena in Trenton, New Jersey. When we come back, the Red Foxes live one more day at least on the MAAC television network. This game is brought to you in part by the Pepsi-Cola Company, the joy of Pepsi. By GHI, healthcare coverage from A to Z. HSBC, the world's local bank. And by FYE, for your entertainment, music, movies, games, and more. Marist wins by 6, 69-63. Canisius goes home while the Red Foxes move on to round number 2 of the EUS Communications Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference Tournament. Tomorrow we'll be back with you at 4:30 on MSG and Empire. Iona versus Niagara, followed by St. Peter's and Fairfield, and Marist against Siena. That's brought to you by JetBlue Airways. It's not the only way to fly, but it should be. So Iona wins earlier today over Loyola. St. Peter's in overtime beat Fairfield, or rather beat Ryder, and then Marist has just defeated Canisius to move on to round number 2.
See everybody dancing, including the ushers in the aisle, but a terrific day of basketball. A couple games that came down to literally the last couple possessions, including the heroics by Robert Taylor to force the overtime. Terrific first day of the tournament. A lot more left tomorrow and beyond.
They're all hoping to make it to the big dance. That'll do it from Trenton, New Jersey. Thanks for joining us. We'll talk to you again tomorrow. For Rob Kennedy, this is Doug Sherman on the MAAC Television Network.